So all is this, as we've heard, all is this, and this is unknowable. All is this, and this is unknowable. Now, for the me, that's completely unacceptable. Because the me's entire existence is based on knowing. Starting with, I know that I exist. But there's nobody that knows they exist because all is this. So even the sense of feeling like I exist is this too. And the natural reality is unknowing. The pretending is that I know. But the knowing doesn't have any reality to it. It's imagined. It feels real. It seems real. It appears real. That's why it's sometimes called an illusion. Very convincing. But just here, just now, right here and now, without any story, because all words are stories, including this. What I'm saying right now is a story. I'm telling stories. And there's every kind of story imaginable: horror stories, love stories, anger stories, jealousy stories, confusion stories, all of it. But what are these stories appearing to right now? Looking out your eyes, there's nothing there. There's nothing behind your eyes. It's empty. Stories are appearing emptiness. And when they're believed in, they do feel real. But that doesn't make them real. Yeah. So that's why you can't get rid of an illusion. That's why if there's a sense of a me there, there's nothing to be done about it. Because how do you get rid of an illusion, something that doesn't exist? The me says there's me and then there's life. And that's just not true. There's only wholeness, only everything. There is no me plus life. That's the imagined part. That's the story I'm believing. So we can share about this, we can talk about this, we can ask questions about this, we can comment. We can sit in silence. We don't tend to think of knowing something as a story. We think it's real. But all knowing is just a story. It has no reality of its own. Like Santa Claus. Santa Claus has no reality, but we could tell stories about Santa. We can tell stories about the me and the Santa are the same. They're just characters in a story. I think, Dan, you might have a few words to say.
You said it all. You took all the material. Yeah, the story. Stories are what is here. We have a big story as what is appearing, but there isn't anyone who the story is about. There's no one who the story applies to. That framework doesn't exist. It seems to. That's the me. The me is the reality that's created that makes it seem like there is this frame of something going on and a me that it's going on to, and that this is all very real. And that's the whole story. But there's nothing like that kind of frame, a structure of a me and a story. There is no person like that. And there's no story that is anything but just nothing, like hazy smoke. I mean, it doesn't, there's no story that has any solidity to it or any reality to it. It would need the person for that. It would need somebody real that the story was about and real people in the story. And yeah, that person and that whole structure isn't here, but this is here. Just this, without knowing anything about it, without converting it into something known, which would become a story. It's all just here, which is everything. So that's my 2 cents. I think I just kind of repeated what you said.
No, it's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah. Shut up the room with that.
And it is. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, when we hear this stuff, which of course we've all heard a million times, any non-duality meeting, this is what we hear over and over. There's no me, there's no world, there's no story. It's all, but that also, should bring up kind of a resistance, like, oh, well, wait a minute, but what about, because this me feeling is so strong and we carry it with us all the time. And it's saying something different. It's got a lot to say that is completely counter to to all this. You know, it's got its own story. So, you know, if you feel that story coming up from the me, then we could bring that out. We can look at it. Or any questions, because questions, that it brings up questions.
For me, it just feels like when I'm listening to Michael or Nkosi or you or anybody talk, it's feels like yes, 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 yes. And then I guess there's a story that there must be a story that keeps me from kind of existing in that open yes, keeps a me and instead feels like yes, and then I go and I be a mom and I go do these things and then I snap at somebody and do this. And then when I'm listening or I'm sitting in a moment and staring off, then it's there. It feels like I can turn to it. And I know that's a story, and yet that's what my experience feels like. And so I just keep listening. It doesn't feel like a heavy seeking listening, although sometimes there does feel like there's like a tension, a like, I can't stand this. I want to be there so bad. But that's not all constant, and mostly it's an enjoyment. So sometimes I bargain with, I'm not going to listen to anything anymore. And then I go, well, I want to, and I do. So that's what's seemingly going on here.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those, so you just told the story,
Okay.
and which one of those characters is the real you? Is it the mom, Jenny the mom? Is it the wife? Is it the one who works? Is it the one who watches videos? Which is the real you?
None of them, and the one that's not getting it, you know, or not there, I guess, is the one that.
Are you the one that is not getting it? Is that you?
Right, no.
So we said, like Dan and I said, the stories can feel incredibly real. We're not disputing. They can, in the moment, they can seem to almost take us over. But what this meeting is about is really seeing, well, what story is actually me? You know, I'm a certain age. Well, is that really what you are, a certain age? Is that body really what you are, that particular body, this moment, that seems to always be changing? It's you can't grasp it. So it's all of it. It's the confusion, it's the trying to get it, it's the thinking, now I've got it. And then maybe a few minutes later, crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of that.
And the story always has a report about what's going on right now, how it is. Jenny isn't getting it and wishing she could, and why can't she? Or now she is kind of getting it, and it sounds so real, it feels so real, like I'm almost bathing in it, and then, but that's that's what the story is. The story is a report to who? Who is it reporting to? I don't know, but it's the report of what's going on. But you can never get this. You will never get this. It's not, there isn't any getting it, because that's all that you are. You are that. You are it. And so, and then there's a story and the story is always about not being it. Because the story is the me, and the me is just the one who feels like I'm not it. I'm separate from it. But that isn't true. That's the illusion. That's the dream. And you just are it, and everything is it, and there only is it. And that's it.
And that's the no separation part. And the me absolutely cannot hear that, because the me is separation. There's life and there's me. So no separation doesn't compute to the me. Can't.
So you're the one that there's no story about, that doesn't know a story, doesn't have a story, is too alive to have a story, to be a character in a story, or to be, to tell a story about what's happening to that one right now. How is she? And so there's nothing to do about any of that, about the story. There's no one to do anything. This all is it, with nothing to do, no steps to take, nothing to know. It's just always already here, as however it is. And that's all there is. Everything else is a story. And the story is it too, but there's no one that the story is about.
And again, like a good movie, it can be convincing. I mean, that's, when you're watching, Halloween, and Michael Myers is coming, with the knife, ready to get the babysitter. I mean, in that moment, that's the story. And it's supposed to be scary. That's what's happening. But it's not really happening. It's just a projected image of light on a screen. And the whole story is happening in the mind. But it has no reality to it. It's just all imagined. So the imagination is everything.
But you're already doing it. It's already being done as Jenny. And that's as it. And that's all that there is just how this life is showing up as this Zoom meeting, as all these forms, as being with your kids. It's already it. Oh.
it's such a funny phenomenon because out of nowhere you hear about non-dual or something, and then it's like, oh my gosh, and then it's not understood, and then you can't do you can't, it's got all of it, it's got all your attention, you know, but you don't get to totally know it. You just, I don't know, it's beautiful and all that, but it's, anyways. But I know that's probably at some point I'll realize none of that happened, but
Well, there is nobody that knows it.
right. Right.
You know, and I know I've heard like Jim Newman and, you know, other speakers say the same thing. And you're sitting there, well, what do you mean? You clearly know something that I don't. It's obvious. But what they're saying is, it's just that it's sort of like, I don't know. And you're no longer seeking because something in you, it's just known to be futile, that you're just going to get more of the same, more stories. That's all that's available. So suddenly there's some peace because you realize it's really true. There is no one that knows this. Because again, you would have to be separate from this to know it.
And there's still a feeling of, well, I've got to get this. And, you know, I'll hang in there and maybe you know, in time it will happen or I will get it. That's the story that's going on. And that's the me. And it's doing that with everything, really. There's just this expectation and this hope and this, but really that's the idea that something is going to happen in my story that will be it will be it. It will be the thing, and it will end this hoping and this waiting and this looking. That's the story, and that's what isn't. That's the illusion, and this is it. It actually is already. And everything that you're looking for, everything that any is ever looked for, is exactly this. And there's this feeling of, no, it's not. It's feeling of, this is not it. And that's the me. And it's an illusion, but it's you know, it shows up, it's here. It's why we're met. That's why we have this meeting.
Which it's just one thought, right? It's just one thought that's saying, this is not it. That can't help but be believed by nobody.
Yeah.
But right now, where is that thought? It's not here. It's got to be entertained, you know, it's got to be held up. And there is that energy that seems like it's always doing that. But again, that's the thought, that's the story, that's the illusion. And it's really not anywhere. And there's no Jenny that is like being held prisoner by that or anything like that. And but it can't be understood. And it never will be. But it's here, it's what already is. Always. Because this isn't in time. There's nothing that's going to happen in time, and there's nothing that's going to appear in experience that will be like the confirmation of what already is. Because what is its own confirmation, it's its own evidence, but it's not in any form of you know, my experience. Experience is the dream.
when you say all this is all there is, it's already happening, is that, why is that not a story?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, everything is a story. And that's a story. To say everything is a story is a story. I mean, yeah, we can't say anything that's not a story.
Then why in the non-dual community, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain way of speaking. I mean, I'm going to call it a philosophy. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
So it's a non-dual story.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's just a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do we sit around, or why is this occurring? We're telling a story, or there are stories being told, and we're all here. It's just happening that we're all here listening and speaking the same story. But then it would be no different than another group on Zoom right now speaking I, and strengthening that sense of I, that I am a me, that philosophy, whatever that would be, and no difference.
Oh, I was going to let you handle that, Michael, but I'll take it on. Yeah, I mean, in a way, there is absolutely no difference. And I mean, this is when, okay, I don't know, I can give you the answer that's always given, which is that, you know, there is something about this meeting which is different in the story. It is different, right? So there is something in this story of this communication and this, whatever this is, that somehow, and not in any way that can be explained or, you know, certainly not proven or understood or even made sense of. But yes, there is some way. I mean, people talk about resonance, that famous word. There's a resonance, there's an energy, whatever. Yeah, I mean, because we are, yeah, it is different, right? Because yeah, the communication that goes on in the other places is honoring the me and is speaking to the me. Now, again, that's not, it's really not different. You know, fundamentally, the story is a story. So it is different and it isn't different. And that's the best answer I can give you. But it's also a question of like, why are we doing this? Why am I speaking? And I don't know if there's an answer to that either. You know, yeah, just crazy. I don't know. Michael, can you give him a better answer? He asked the big question.
There is no answer.
Yeah. And Jenny said it before, you know, when we started out about, I understand it, but I don't understand it. And that's really, you know, that's it all the time. You know, we can understand, we're explaining and talking about things, but it's also not understandable. And that's also part of what we're, you know, it's kind of, we're also, you know, disintegrating and confounding this mind and this me that is always this machine that's running full speed to try to understand and try to make sense of this. And there is no sense to this. So, and you just exposed it.
Hi, Nkosi, welcome.
Hey,
Oh, we gotta unmute you. Definitely unmute that guy.
But you to go on, you say there's no sense to this. And I think to, I don't know, a lot of people that would mean something. There's no sense to this. And that's good. But there's no sense to this is another story. So if I say, or if what comes out of me says, there is sense to this, there is massive sense to this, and
yeah.
da 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 da, and a story. And what we're saying, I guess there's no hierarchy of stories. So therefore,
Yeah.
I'm just going to put out just a, I'm playing here. I'm,
Yeah, yeah,
trying
good.
to figure this out. That
Of course.
I'm going to just take the opinion. No, this is, I am here. I am here. I am here. And I make sense. And that's it. Just, I just leave it there.
So I wanted to share with Nkosi, tonight, we are talking about all is this, and this is unknowable.
Yeah, yeah, this is unknowable because really there's no one to know it already. So there isn't anyone who is here who wants to know. There's just everything. So there's nothing to get. There's nothing to get really. Even if it seems as if something's getting it or not getting it, it doesn't even matter because everything is this. And this meeting is going nowhere. There isn't anything that is going to be achieved here. This just what seems to be happening. And what seems to be happening is going nowhere. And it's not personal. It's not happening to anyone. If a thought that says this is happening to me arises, it isn't for anyone. It's just what seems to be appearing. So it doesn't matter what happens. The one asking a question, the one giving an answer, all those are just appearances in what is. So it doesn't matter if the answer is given or not. So the one who's getting it and the one who's not getting it is the same because everything is this. All those are just appearances in this. And this is not an appearance. So it doesn't really matter what seems to be happening, asking of a question, giving on an answer being given, and the one who's not satisfied and the one who's satisfied, it's all the same. So what seems to be happening has got nothing to do with you because there's no you. There's no real you here. It's just wholeness. It's just everything. So this is beautiful just the way it is. Well, it seems as something is happening, but nothing is really happening here. So this is unknowable because there's already no knower here. The knower, or what seems to be the knower, is already the unknown. It's just the unknown appearing as a knower. So there's no real knower here. Except as a thought. And the thought is this. So there's no escape. Every sound appearing that was giving a meaning is just this appearing as a sound. So no one has ever said anything here. No one has ever answered any question. No one has ever giving any answer here. The answer being given and the question being asked is the same. It's just this. So they, that's why I always say this is going nowhere, really. Well, there can be a resonance. Something may seem to resonate with what being said, with the message being heard. The message being heard is being heard by no one. Well, even that something is not something, it's just, there's no word here to express, to really define what this is. Words have limitations. This is beyond any description. So the one who wants to know this is already the unknown. So there can never be any real knower except as an imagination appearing. So no one knows anything here. This doesn't claim to know everything. So there isn't anybody who's talking right now. It's just what seems to be happening. And this is not talking to anyone. Because there's no one here. They're just bodies, but there's no one inside them. No one has ever been found in these bodies. They're just empty. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely. Breathtaking.
So I say something about that. I'll go to, I agree, Michael. Beautiful. But that was a story. what's happening here, it seems like, is a resonance that I think is, or how do I say, even though I think it's beautiful and true, there's no me to say that. So there's nothing breathtaking or beautiful about it without a me saying it, and there's no me. Yet, oh, here's what happened, or something something is occurring somewhere, or maybe not. So what's occurring here, it seems, is different than starting at 6 o'clock. I am different, or my story is different. So again, I listen to you and Nkosi, and it's like, yes, yeah, something inside, or it seems like something inside says yes to this, to what you're saying. Something says, this is true. This is true. If there, but there's no I in there. There's no I here saying that this is true. What is it that is saying this is true, or that that seems to be happening over here, that says this is true, thinking that you're saying something over there? And I do have to say I love you before any answer. Okay, yeah.
So Don, is there anything about Nkosi's answer that you don't understand?
No, not his answer so far. Nothing I don't understand so far.
Just checking.
Oh yeah, I'm listening.
He may have
But
some.
I'd have to say, the answer that I am receiving from Nkosi, or however it works. What is that? What is going on? What is going on right now? Something, even without me here, even without me here, forget me. Something's going on, even without the me. And so I
Well,
want to.
I'll take the liberty of answering. So what I would say is, no, nothing is going on. And the answer to your question of who is asking, I think it was kind of who is asking the question, who is that? Well, it's no one, it's nothing. But then this energy comes up to ask the next question, and to in other words, to make it something. It's got to be something, and it's got to be something that I can understand. Let me understand this. Let me see what it is, because then I may get closer to it. And that's the me. That's the seeking energy. It's not you. There's no one in it. This is it. This is still it. This is always it. Already it. And it's nothing. And then there's this wanting to make it into something. And then maybe I can understand. That's the story of me. But there is no me. And there is no something. There's just this. And then there'll be another question. But what about this? But what about that? And that's the ongoing story of an imagined me. But that's just this. And that's loosely translated. I'm trying to. Nkosi's much more eloquent. And then there's the feeling of, okay, I kind of get that. It sounds good, but what about, where's this going? Where's this leading? What's the next thing I can make out of this? But there is nowhere. Nothing is going anywhere. Only in the mind and the story of the me. And the me isn't anywhere. Don was never a me. There were never any me's here.
I was thinking, what if when Nkosi had just responded, if his response was in a language that I couldn't understand at all, and whether there would be the same response that Don had, that, well, there's something there or not, if there would be nothing for my mind to grab onto, if he had just responded and I couldn't understand what he was saying the whole time. I was just thinking that, just popped in my head.
Yeah. That's the big hazard of using English and making sense, because the me is going to jump in and chow down and think, that I can make some sense out of this and I can get somewhere with this meaty talk that I'm hearing. But it's just nothing.
If you've ever seen a little baby in a room full of adults arguing politics, and the baby is just unconcerned, doesn't know about it, the adults can be arguing their point of views most vehemently, But the baby doesn't, just what you're saying, Jenny, it doesn't know English. So it's not forming opinions, and yet the baby is. The baby's not taking this and trying to formulate a position. And that's what it seems apparently that the me does.
The baby's not busy building a story and then trying to live inside of the story. He's just alive. And that's what everything is. We're not any different. We're all babies.
I guess the way I heard your question, Jenny, is that even in talking about babies, that there's a quality in something that is not the words, but there's a quality of being in that presence that we can just sense that resonance without a bunch of words. So when you said if you were to speak a different language, would it be different? And I really don't think it would. Just
Yeah, I think if Nkosi were to speak Zulu or whatever he speaks, I would just be as happy to listen to that.
Well, I think we should try that one. Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Yeah, I know it's a little bit late in the game. I just want to pick up from something Don said a little earlier, and I'm really curious because we use the term, me, all the time. And I agree with this, essentially we're talking about the strategy of the me and the separation. And I agree. I feel like when I'm not in me, I'm in whatever we want to call pure awareness, boundlessness, whatever term we want to use that brings us to that experience. So my question is, by talking about the me though, even though I agree, this is a great strategy, it's a great tool, or it's a great awareness, it would seem like that's this too, right? So in other words, I guess why are we using a strategy, even though I think it is very helpful? I'm playing kind of devil's advocate because I actually like the idea of being aware of this thing called, me and the story and the separation and the suffering because of it, theoretically. But as I hear this discussion going on, and this is very similar terminology that comes up each week, it feels like, and I think Don made a great point, it feels like that it is like a story we're talking about also, or a strategy dealing with the me. And that's this too. So anyway, I'm sort of just throwing it out there more as just an observation. I don't really know what the angle I'm looking for exactly, except that it does feel a bit like that's a story too, talking about the me as something that's telling a story and going on and on. It's almost like silence would be the ultimate response to everything. So anyway, I just thought maybe if you guys want to comment on that. By the way, I agree with the idea that the me is the separation. The separation is suffering, or suffering is maybe not the proper word, but let's just call it's the separation. But that's wholeness too, I guess, is really to use common terminology we've used. So anyway, that was a little bit of a run, but anyway, I would love to hear your comments on that.
I read a comment about somebody saying, if everything's green, then what is green? And that just clicked for me. So I don't know if that helps you or not, but that's just how I see it. I see it.
I like it. I like it, Wendy. If everything is green, what is green? That's beautiful.
Thanks.
So if all is this, what is this?
One quick comment. If we were listening to everybody in a language that we didn't know, then one story and another story, there's equanimity, because then there's no better or worse. It's all chatter. No matter how good the content we could think, but it's all just chatter.
Yeah, some of you know U.G. Krishnamurti, his famous, he always just said, it's all dogs barking. And that is what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to talk to Alan, I mean, if what I, just speaking for me, if what I'm saying sounds like I'm sort of giving a strategy, then I'm screwing up because that is actually not at all what I mean to communicate. And when I talk, I mean, there is, or the so-called me apparently talks, there is a silence in it. I mean, when we all talk, we're here, there's the silence that's really talking, and there's a gibberish that's talking, and there's a language that no one understands that's talking, that's in all of that. And yeah, there's some English there too, and there's English that sounds like it makes sense and it's making a point. And that's all in there together. But I hope that it's not I'm not sounding too much like I'm making a point, or too much like I'm trying to say anything too much, you know, because that would give the me more to feed on. And that's really not, you know, the point. But yeah, we do, it's a game, you know, it's like we're here to use words, and, you know, it's always a little bit of a trap, and it always sounds a little bit like, I mean, it's very much a story, and and the me is always going to hear a story and everything, and it's going to feel, you know, it's going to feed that desire to make sense and to get something. But hopefully the other stuff is in there enough, you know, the silence and the gibberish and the no sense, because that's really what this is. There's no sense to be made here at all. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Speaking of sense.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ben.
I appreciate your questions and your comments.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming. So appreciate you all. So love you all. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.